Hey, thought you could leave without saying goodbye.
Stop! He's already dead! I'm Erik Voss, and this is The Deep Dive. Hollywood may have finally crossed the line with its increasingly brazen resurrections of deceased actors to cash in on nostalgia points. While audiences were willing to accept the recreating of the likeness of Paul Walker to complete Furious 7 when Walker died midway through production, now studios are routinely reanimating actors like Carrie Fisher, Harold Ramis, and Christopher Reeve significantly long after these actors have passed. What are the ethics of doing this? Is it okay if the family approves? Today's Invosstigation: is it wrong to resurrect dead actors with VFX? I am wearing an Indie I Love You shirt at nerdriot.shop. I'll be wearing it all summer long for our Spielberg summer series. And before you say that Steven Spielberg would never do the kind of thing that I'm talking about in today's Invosstigation, our man did start to dip his toes into this kind of thing by recreating the Overlook Hotel from The Shining in Ready Player One, a movie that I will never ever break down on this channel because it's terrible. Okay, over 8 years ago, in April 2015, was one of the first videos I ever wrote for New Rockstars, a brief analysis of the technology behind the late Paul Walker CGI recreation in Furious 7. This was New Rockstars' first viral success. It shifted the channel to start focusing more on film analysis, and it altered my career forever. The overcoming of film production obstacles has always been fascinating to me, and the exploitation of on-screen talent has become a major concern of mine. So I want to explore why Christopher Reeve's posthumous cameo in The Flash is so disturbing, whether or not Reeves' estate gave its blessing, or whether or not people in your theater gasped or cheered or cried at it. So using post-production gimmicks to complete a dead actor's performance used to be a matter of necessity, and it wasn't always respectful. Bruce Lee died during the making of Game of Death, originally a 1972 film The Game of Death, but later re-edited into the 1978 Game of Death using portions of Lee's footage from the 72 film and from the film Enter the Dragon. They filled in Lee's performance using his stunt doubles and, insanely in one scene, taping a cutout of his face on a mirror to cover his stand-in's reflection. His son, Brandon Lee, in what some call the Lee family curse, tragically died on set of the 1994 film The Crow from a gunshot wound. His stunt double, Chad Stahelski, filled in, and they superimposed Brandon Lee's head over his body. Because it's a flash of lightning, it actually worked out a lot better, and Stahelski would go on to direct all the John Wick films. In 2000's Gladiator, Oliver Reed died during the production, and they reused Reed's face from some other scenes.
Win the crowd, and you'll win your freedom.
To digitally recreate his likeness in later scenes.
It seems you've won your freedom.
Proxima, are you in danger of becoming a good man?
This was really the first example of technology truly enhancing the actor's performance, rather than the film just trying to pull a fast one on us. They repurposed Proximo's earlier line to turn this moment into a solid callback. Sadly, a year after this, The Sopranos, Season 3, Episode 2, used some of the all-time worst face mapping of the late Nancy Marchland as Tony's mother, Livia.
Hey, Ma.
Look who calls.
Well, actually, I'm standing here in front of you.
I wish the Lord would take me now.
What, are you gonna freak out every time I try to do something nice for you? Jesus.
Now they also had to digitally recut Philip Seymour Hoffman in Mockingjay Part 2, but really just kind of limited him to reaction shots in that movie. But the highest profile instance of this was the death of Paul Walker during the production of Furious 7. Peter Jackson's effects company Weta Digital created 260 shots of a computer-generated face of Paul Walker, plus 90 repurposed shots from outtakes and from older footage. They used Paul's brothers, Caleb and Cody, as stand-ins, as well as actor Jonathan Brotherton. And even today, it's considered one of the most delicately handled and respectful times they had done this. But here is where we hit a turning point. From production emergency situations to films from their conception thinking, hey, what if we could resurrect somebody? 2016's Rogue One, the recreation of Wilhelm Tarkin, originally played by Peter Cushing, who died in 1994. Guy Henry played Tarkin on set and provided the voice. ILM created a wholly digital version of Tarkin's head and mapped it onto Henry's performance. The final result, with Tarkin, and later in the film with D.H. Carrie Fisher as Leia, had mixed results, especially when it came to the mouths. But ILM wasn't done. They went back to relying on archive footage for General Leia in The Rise of Skywalker.
We cut out her face so that it's Carrie Fisher playing Princess Leia. We cut out her face, and then we built a digital Princess Leia around the face.
Hair and costume.
Costume, exactly. Which meant, of course, she could have a new hairstyle, she could have a new costume, for this movie, which would make her feel very unique to this particular project.
Oh, yeah, even the way they talk about it. Cut out her face, the way they play dress up with her like a doll. Also, at this point in Leia's life, folks, she was General Leia. Now, these are artists with, I'm sure, a lot of respect for Carrie Fisher. I know I'm being hard on them, but I think artists can sometimes love a subject without realizing that their love is a Pygmalion-esque fascination with the aesthetics of their appearance and their memory of the character, and not a true connection to the soul breathed into that role by a human being in a particular take on a particular day on a particular set sometime in history. That irreplicable spark is what makes film acting magical and why the audience will always be able to see the difference. Now, legally, in the state of California, film productions must obtain the permission of the deceased actor's estate to use their image, their voice, or their likeness after a state law passed in 1985. Reportedly, Peter Cushing's estate gave permission to use his likeness in Rogue One, as did Carrie Fisher's brother Todd for Leia in Rise of Skywalker. Similar permission was given by the family of the late Harold Ramis for the conjuring of the ghost of Egon Spengler in Ghostbuters Afterlife. Director Jason Reitman, son of Ivan Reitman, the original Ghostbusters director, grew up on the set of the Ghostbusters films. He was close with everybody in the cast, and this whole idea of them coming back as ghosts was something discussed by Bill Murray and Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd for a future Ghostbusters movie someday, and Jason Reitman said that Harold Ramis' wife and daughter were frequently on set and in the editing room. But now when it comes to the producers on The Flash reanimating Christopher Reeve as Superman, remember Christopher Reeve died in 2004, some outlets are speculating that they would have had to get permission from Reeves' estate, but no one as of this recording has actually confirmed it. Others are pointing out that George Reeves left no family behind after his tragic death in 1959, with no estate really to approve this cameo. And currently circulating is an excerpt from Christopher Reeves' interview with Playgirl magazine in 1982 when he said, "You've got very few things that are private in this life. You've got your pride in yourself, and those are the last things that you can sell. One of the few things you have to hang on to is your integrity about your work, and I think work defines a great deal of who you are." That's what I think this comes down to, integrity. It's not enough to get permission from the family or some estate that could be run by descendants the actor hated for all we know and might just want to pay out. You have to honor the known intent of the actor when they were still alive. Paul Walker, Oliver Reed, even Bruce Lee, they knew what movies they were signing up for and probably would have wanted for some version of the project to still be completed. But Peter Cushing never signed up for a Star Wars prequel where another actor would do an impression of him and wear his face. Audrey Hepburn never signed up to be in a commercial for Dove chocolate in 2014. And Christopher Reeve and George Reeves, there was just no possible way for them to consent to being rendered as ghostly reanimated puppets in a future Flash movie. It may be legal to do this with the permission of a family or an estate, but it is unethical. If you want to honor these guys' memories, just reuse some of the great archive footage from one of their films or TV episodes, something seen from the outside in, and don't use CGI to make them react to new shit. Because I promise you, this road will eventually lead to an Avengers Secret Wars with a digitally recreated Chadwick Boseman waving at us from the other side of a freaking portal. Meanwhile, an AI version of Stan Lee tap dances in, winking at us and saying, "Weren't those opening titles to Secret Invasion terrific? Excelsior!" Duh! Well, let me know what you think about this. I know it's a controversial subject, but that's what makes a good investigation. And yes, Spielberg's summer on the deep dive is continuing in the weeks ahead with Jurassic Park, Jaws, and E.T. And please support us with an Indie I Love You shirt at nerdriot.shop. Subscribe to all 3 channels on the new Rockstars Network, and share this channel and its videos with everyone you know and love. Follow me at EA Voss, and I'll see you next time, my divers of the deep.